which is the issue of kind of I guess it's kind of like a big free market versus, state-driven economy type question. That was kind of where I went to yours. So I think the starting point for us is that we must never forget that through illicit capital transfers, through profits that are siphoned out by multinational companies, through the extraction industry agreements that ensure that all our mineral wealth, all that is valuable, is first and foremost exported and returned to us as finished goods. That model essentially keeps Africa and many countries in the underdeveloped world underdeveloped, right? So that's the starting point. So if you put all the aid that has come into Africa and look at it from the perspective of illicit capital transfers and corruption and money laundering and so on, it will never be even more than a single percentage of what has gone out of the continent and still continues to go out of the continent. So that's the first thing. There is always a space for, I guess, more culturally appropriate development. And yes, there are a litany of stories, English education books for communities that don't speak English, bridges that are put up on seasonal rivers, right? When I was with Amnesty, I used to drive around the north and they would be like in the middle of a desert, there's like a bridge. I was like, who's that for? He said, about 5 years ago, the river used to pass between the bridge, but it's because it's seasonal and meanders. The bridge is left there. So, there's tons of those boreholes that no longer work anyway. There's all that kind of stuff. And that's just ineffective stuff, planning problems. But I think the key thing really is to think about, a future in which, and I'm kind of twisting into the next question, think about a future in which you have national sovereignty, you have the capacity to produce wealth internally, and that wealth is distributed in an equitable way, right? So that you don't have large numbers of people languishing in poverty. And we replicate the same models in the US, in the UK, and various other places, with the exception of the Scandinavian countries, although I suspect with the change of governments there, you're going to start seeing inequalities show up in places like Sweden, right? But societies that are much more, much more equal. And the state continues to have a social development role, right? So the role of the state for me can never be just simply taxation, infrastructural development, and security, which sometimes you hear, right? There has to be certain common public services that the state provides. And in that context, the role of NGOs, I think, will become smaller. Our role is to oversight, it is to say the inconvenient things and to continue to hold government accountable. That will be my future.